Hey everyone, Mario here. Today I wanted to discuss why natural bodybuilders are typically smaller than bodybuilders on steroids. Um, there are a few factors that come into play. Of course, the steroids is the defining factor, but really I would say it's more so due to the speed at which someone that's unnatural can make their gains. I think the limit is also greater with someone that does take steroids. So I'm not going to say that it's not, but I do believe that most natural bodybuilders or athletes can get much bigger than they currently are, even if they're striving for the maximum possible gains. I think they could go quite a bit further, and there are a few things that stop them, and then that's what I wanted to discuss in this video, why they kind of plateau at a certain weight. The first thing is visualization. So visualization, what can I say about that? When I first joined the gym, there were a lot of guys like me that were convinced, they would always remain natural, and they, would not bend in that area. But what they did wrong was they would turn to other natural bodybuilders, guys that were obviously in better shape than they were at the time, but that had reached, a sort of average in that regard. So they looked phenomenal, and possibly, to the average person, they look perfect. But for someone that's in the industry, we always want more. Yet they put a cap by looking at those people, and they even put a kind of verbal, visual cap on things. When speaking to a doctor, a doctor will tell you, well, given your frame and your sort of build and the amount of testosterone you currently have and whatever it might be, that this is your limit. 5'10", you'll never weigh more than 180 pounds. If you're in competition, you won't be greater than 160 or something like that. So, and that's typically, I'd say, the range that the natural bodybuilders reach is 160 to 175 if they're truly natural. That seems to be almost like the maximum weight, but there are guys that go up to 180, 185, even some 190, and possibly 195 as completely natural athletes. The 195 ones are very, very rare, and I'd say typically go unnoticed just because they're probably not as lean and dry as and maybe even aesthetic as the ones that are about 175. So some of the biggest natural bodybuilders that you see that look great, win competitions, and are also more known in the industry, are about 175. So, but like I said, there are exceptions. Some go up to 185, 190, and if you see them outside of a show, they look great. Wearing clothes, jeans, t-shirt, like they'll just look spectacular. But that's not the point of the video. It's not to say who's more aesthetic, someone that is natural within that weight range, or a bodybuilder on steroids that weighs 250 pounds. I'd say everybody that's into bodybuilding will want to be 250 pounds just because that's our obsession. But few will achieve it, and that's the first reason why they just set a cap with visualization from people they speak with, from the other athletes they look to and look at. Even if it's just photos and videos of other athletes, they say, I want to, I think I could maybe be as big as him one day because he's the biggest, or he's considered one of the biggest. That's a problem. I always visualize bodybuilders from the golden era, which were already taking steroids and had kind of that mix of aesthetics and also size, but weren't freakishly big. That was the ideal for me, but I still had a little bit of an affinity for being huge. So if I could have pushed it to, 250 pounds, 255, then that would be the ideal weight for me. And to do that, I had to look at many of the bodybuilders that compete in the more traditional organizations. So number two, what would number two be? Number two is I was going to say nutrition. So I was going to say dieting, but just nutrition in general. I'd say that they, a natural bodybuilder will kind of withhold like some of the calories that they could be taking in for the purpose of remaining lean in the off season. Like I noticed it's kind of part of the culture that natural bodybuilders, being more, let's say, aesthetically pleasing to the general public's eye, they seem to all want to maintain that sort of part about them. So many of them are trainers, so they use their bodies to kind of promote, not promote the sport, but they use their bodies to create a job and a career. And if the only way that they could really stand out, aside from being big, is being also lean. So lean and have the V taper and the small waist. So I think that's why it's part of the culture. Once again, many of them are trainers, some are gym owners, and that's how they get more customers. And if they can't be big, they say, well, at least I'll be showing off my abs once in a while, and that'll get me a few extra customers. And that seems to be part of the culture, like I said. And so as a result, they're taking in less calories even in the off season. So, well, especially in the off season, that's when you would take in more calories, but they don't. They kind of limit it. They're eating a very high protein diet, but they're avoiding fats. They're avoiding carbs whenever possible. So, and you need carbs to get big, and you need fats as well. And my opinion is that even in the off season, which is, let's say, if you compete once per year, it's the 9 months out of the year prior to the preseason, which is the 3 months right before a competition. So those 9 months out of the year, I truly believe if someone wants to get as big as possible, as muscular as possible, that they need to take in quite a bit of protein, quite a bit of carbs, and quite a bit of fats. So and not even, I wouldn't count calories or anything like that. That's a discussion for another video, but I never really understood that. Like, just listen to your body, take in as much protein as you can with each meal, and don't avoid the carbs, don't avoid the fats, because you need those for energy. You need them not only for energy required for your workouts, but also to feed the muscle. The muscle needs that. So it needs glycogen, it needs sugar essentially, but it needs, even starchy carbs have its place in a bodybuilding diet. So, so basically take in as many calories as possible. And it's something that is now part of the culture of natural bodybuilding, it seems. And that's something that also further limits what their potential could be in terms of building muscle. So what would be the third one? Sorry, I'm just checking the time. I don't want to make it such a long video. The third and final point I'd like to make is that it's in two parts. So the first part is with weights, with regards to strength. There's a lot of people, like even experienced bodybuilders, like that will say that the only way to build muscle is by lifting heavier and heavier weights. So you continually try to progress in that area, and of course there's so much science to support this. And the basic idea, for those of you that don't know, is that Basically, the muscles essentially are stretching. The muscle fibers are stretching and expanding, and what happens is it creates kind of like a scar tissue, and once that falls off, falls apart, and the waste passes through your system and just leaves the body, that what's left is a bigger muscle fibers. So it's the same muscle fibers, just expanded. So you're like almost anything, like any type of muscle, any type of even figuratively speaking, any type of business or something you work at, the more you work at it, the more experience you get, the more it pushes that thing to grow. So it's normal. But there's the thing is, here's the thing, there are so many factors when it comes to muscle building, like so many factors, even like nervous tension, and even I'd go so far to say as like even like social aspects that influence the muscle growth, like if just feeling good and being with someone that makes you feel good, whether it be your life partner, your wife, your husband, even if it's just hanging out with a friend, those good vibes, I do believe, contributes to the things that you want to achieve, and they contribute even to your physiology in a way. But that's again, that's a topic of definitely a topic of another video. So what else can I say about that? So anyways, getting more into the details of things, if you push very heavy weights, or if you push heavier weights, sure, the muscles grow, but then you got to feed them. So that kind of goes back to the second point. They're not maybe eating enough to support the efforts that the muscle is going through to potentially grow. It won't grow because they're kind of one area is kind of depleted. So like I said, there are many factors, and they all kind of have to be up for you to be able to progress in that area. So okay, so that aside, people tend to how can I say this? They lift. I don't want to say they lift too heavy, but they emphasize so much this idea of going so heavy in the gym, and I think that's one area where people need to at least test going a little bit lighter. So because for some, and I would say for most natural bodybuilders, if you go lighter, you'll actually build more muscle, because when you go heavier, it's like you're entering the realm of the nervous system. Like some powerlifters will tell you, when you're squatting beyond a certain weight, it's like it's not even hitting the muscles anymore. It's really like it goes down to the ligaments, and I'd say even beyond that. There's in bodybuilding and weight training and powerlifting, there's something called a term called second wind. Where you'll be pushing a heavy weight, and if nobody is there to spot you, sometimes you just, even if you're like have no more energy, there you find a way to push that weight back up, and it's like it's not the muscles, and it's probably the nervous system. There's something that just kicks in, some sort of hormone or something that just gives you a boost, gives you a shot of something, and it allows you to complete what you're doing. So the strength, it's kind of like an inner strength, or but not in the spiritual sense. I really think it's just a sort of part of your physiology. It's something that obviously that's there and that's in everybody, and it kicks in almost automatically. Like it's not something you have to really work on or anything like that. So so I think at that point, when they're lifting, they're always lifting like heavier and heavier, and that's the mentality they have. But if you're not eating enough, and you're not if you're not eating enough and you're not resting enough, then the chances of you being able to even get much stronger are not it's you're going to reach a cap at some point, and then the gains are going to be so slow, even in terms of muscle. So like I said, it kind of hits the nervous system more, as opposed to working the actual muscles and making them get pumped and grow. And it leads also to injuries, but again, a topic of another discussion. So okay, so what's the last thing? That was the third part, and kind of something that goes with it. Part B, I would say, of this, aside from going, not going so heavy and trying that out and seeing if that works for you, which I like. Once again, I would say it does. It probably will, because I think most people react better to intermediate kind of level weights, something that feels moderately heavy to you, and pushing out really 8 to 12 to even 15, sometimes 20 really, really good reps. So you should be in the lower rep range, but even when you go up to about 15, if you're pushing and it feels comfortable but heavy, yet still comfortable enough to push in a way where you always feel in control, then that's the sweet spot. So part B is rest. I kind of touched on that a second ago, but like, people need to rest more, and rest is really almost like a substitute for food, but without any of the side disadvantages of food, which is taxing on your intestines. It's taxing on the stomach, and it's taxing it. You feel this and see this more as you get older. So if you're not even in your 30s yet, like, wait till you're in your 40s. It just becomes pretty easy to get fat, so to speak. So there's it's really like almost like food, but only with the benefits. And sleeping too much is not good, because as a gym owner I knew in my area that I worked for a very short while, or rather it was a gym that where I rented out an office as an independent trainer, and he had spoken to me about bodybuilding, and we kind of talked a bit about everything, and he was saying that I'm losing my train of thought. That a plane has to that a plane in motion deteriorates slower than a plane that's at rest. So if you have a brand new plane parked in some sort of warehouse or something like that, even if it's protected in some sort of airtight bubble, that plane will actually deteriorate faster. So whether it's rust or even if there's no water that got in and there is no rust, but when you try to take off of that plane, like, it's just, things are gonna like fall apart. So plane in motion, it kind of maintains itself better and for a longer period of time. So I do believe that too much rest is not good either. And so I'm not talking about sleeping all the time, sleeping and just, like, some bodybuilders are really, they take that to another level. They agree with me, and but they'll, like, take it so far and not do the other things that are important. So as a bodybuilder, you're really essentially looking for balance. Bodybuilding is a very balanced sport when done well and done properly, and done for you to reach your absolute potential. So and in any case, so yeah, but the truth is, most bodybuilders don't rest enough. Like, the emphasis is so much on diet, nutrition, and training heavy usually. So they're kind of, in a way, almost doing everything wrong, as opposed to doing everything right. It seems to most people that they're doing everything right. I think what they're doing right is that they're doing each of those things, and they're also consistent, so they do it regularly. So that's perfect. And that will get results. That will get great results, but that will not bring you to your potential, that, especially in terms of muscle growth. Because there's a time to lean down. Like, keep in mind, I'm not necessarily in this video talking about getting big and lean at the same time. After you do what I'm mentioning, I think is the optimal way to build muscle for a natural bodybuilder. You're gonna have to focus, of course, on more cardio, a stricter dieting, and do kind of almost like some of the opposite of what I'm saying in this video. But that's really just for those last 2-3 months, getting ready for a show, or possibly just kind of like to reboot your system a little bit and change things up and get you a little leaner and get you a little bit to a healthier starting point, not state, but like starting point, okay, where you could restart and say, well, I'm lean, I feel good. Now I could kind of have that perfect balance of, not too many calories, higher protein, but of course, for the purpose of this video, it's about building muscle. So how do we get there? These are the things I'm talking about. So that last point is to rest more. And by rest, it could be sleep. It could be just taking a quick nap, following a workout. It could be a quick nap before a workout. I found that that's actually super, super beneficial. If you could rest before, the pumps you get in the gym are just ridiculous. Like, going to the gym on a quite empty stomach is not a bad idea either. People, they eat, typically they'll eat within an hour or two before, but if you could eat and then wait an hour and then maybe rest for 15 minutes and then go do your workout, that's probably like the ideal thing. So you want to be kind of on an empty stomach and also a bit rested before. And so what else can I say? That's really it. That's all I could come up with. I'm sure there's other points. Like I said, there are so many factors, to this puzzle of muscle building. But and you'll find them. Just listen to your body. And with regards to what I mentioned, just try it out, test it out. Test out one of them first. In my book, I had written an ebook on the subject called Natural Muscle Guide, which you can find on my site. It's I said is web.org, so /natural-muscle. That will bring you straight to the ebook if you're interested. And in it, I believe I mentioned that you don't need to focus so much on doing everything at the same time. So you can actually try one thing that I mentioned, let's say in this video, and I'm sure I also mentioned it in the ebook, and give that a bit of time before you move on to the next thing. And it's probably a good idea because you never want to like jump too fast. It's same thing in like in a business, let's say. Even if all of those things work for you and they end up working for you, and it's kind of like winning the lottery. It's gonna all work out. You're gonna get so much results out of it, and it's gonna be so fast that it's almost sometimes too hard to handle. And I know that sounds funny, but it's like success. Some people, they have success very fast and then they kind of lose it. Like, you need to get a grasp on your body changing so quickly, and you actually don't want it to change too quickly. So I would suggest trying one of these 4 points. It's 4 total points that I mentioned, and then after 1 month, if that worked out for you, keep doing that and add the second one. Then move on to the third after 2 or 3 months, and so on and so forth. So all the best to you. I know many people that are into this are obsessed with this idea of building muscle. Who knows what the cap is, the limit is? I don't know it. Like, nobody can tell you what it is. Like, even if you're an ectomorph and you have a very small frame, I weighed 120 pounds when I started training. Started seriously training, because I did start training at 12 years old, but then stopped pretty quickly. Didn't know what I was doing. My arms were like, I had like 22-inch arms because of like water or something that had accumulated. It really wasn't healthy. And I restarted when I was 20 years old, or a week before I was 20, and I weighed 120 pounds. So I was 120 pounds, 5'10" and a half about. So I'm quite tall. And I was very skinny, very lanky, probably the skinniest guy my age at the gym at the time, even of all the beginners. And I gained approximately 100 pounds over the course of not many years, a few years. And then I leaned down and then got like bigger. I tend to yo-yo quite a bit, but it's I wouldn't say it's done intentionally, but it's very consistent with how my life has been. So trying different businesses, and stress affects you a certain way, so you'll gain a lot of fat or you'll lose a lot of weight, and it just goes with life. So in any case, I was very skinny, gained quite a bit of weight, and there were periods where I was over 200 pounds, extremely lean, and of course that's when I looked my biggest. And it's something I'm hoping to achieve now, to get to definitely surpass 200 pounds, which of course I am right now, but I'm not lean. So if I could be a lean 220 or 230, that's probably my ultimate goal. In any case, on to you. I just wish you guys the best, and I know you can do it. So if I could put in one more shameless little plug, if you are interested in my ebook on building muscle, it's once again, it's at web.org/natural-muscle. All right, guys, all the best to you.